The war room on Harmony Prime Station was quiet. Too quiet. High Counselor Thevrix stood before the massive display screen, his insect-like eyes fixed on the red zone spreading across the map. 3 worlds were burning. 3 Concord worlds had fallen to the Vakari Dominion in less than 2 days. They came from nowhere, said War Chief Gromak. The massive 4-armed Tarvon warrior stood with his arms crossed. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed worry. Our outer colonies had no warning. No time to prepare. Tuvrix clicked his mandibles together. The Vrekari have been planning this for years. They waited. They watched. And now they strike. The door behind them slid open. Ambassador Laura Bennett walked in. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and sharp blue eyes. Behind her came Commander Daniel Carter, a decorated officer of the United Earth Defense Forces. He wore his uniform with quiet pride. "You called for us," Ambassador Bennett said. It was not a question. Thevrix turned to face the humans. Even after 30 years of contact with Earth, he still found them unsettling. They looked so fragile, so soft. But he had seen the reports. He had watched the footage from the border conflicts 5 years ago. He knew what humans could do. "The Concord needs help," Thevrix admitted. The words were difficult for him. His species had ruled 100 star systems when humans were still living in caves. But pride would not save his people now. "We need Earth's military." Commander Carter stepped forward. "We received the intelligence reports an hour ago. Admiral Brooks has already authorized a response. The carrier Hughes Resolute is ready to deploy with a full battalion." Gromak made a rumbling sound in his chest. "Human soldiers, yes, we have seen what they can do." He looked at Carter with something close to respect. "Your kind are survivors. Your planet tried to kill you for millions of years, and you refused to die. That strength will be useful." Carter nodded but said nothing. He had heard this before. Every alien species that met humans eventually said the same things. Deathworlders, survivors of a brutal world. Predators who learned to work together. The galaxy saw humans as dangerous animals who had somehow built starships. They were not entirely wrong. "There is something else," Thevrix said. He touched a control on his wrist, and the display changed. A small blue dot appeared on the edge of Vakari-controlled space. The Vakari captured a human research outpost during their initial attack. 47 of your people are now hostages. Carter felt his jaw tighten. Civilians? Scientists, engineers, and their families. Thevrix paused. 12 children. The room went cold. Ambassador Bennett closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her expression was stone. "Show me the outpost," Carter said. The display zoomed in. The research station sat on a small moon, surrounded by rocky terrain. Red markers showed enemy positions. Carter counted quickly. Over 2,000 Vakari soldiers. Heavy weapons. Shield generators. The station itself had been turned into a fortress. "They want us to attack," Carter said quietly. "They know we will come for our people." "They are waiting for us," Gromak nodded. "A trap. If you attack with full force, the hostages die. If you do nothing, they die slowly as a message to the galaxy." "Then we do not attack with full force," Ambassador Bennett said. "And we do not do nothing." Thevrix looked at her. "What other option is there?" Carter was already reaching for his communicator. "I need to speak with Admiral Brooks." Priority channel. The connection was instant. Admiral Kevin Brooks appeared on a small screen. He was an older man with a scarred face and tired eyes. Those eyes had seen too many wars. "I know why you are calling," Brooks said. "The hostages." "A standard assault will not work," Carter reported. "The Vakari have prepared for exactly that, I know." Admiral Brooks leaned back. That is why I am not sending a standard assault. Carter frowned. Sir, a specialized team is being deployed. They will handle the hostage extraction. Your job is to hold the line at Harmony Prime and provide support when needed. What kind of team? Carter asked. Admiral Brooks smiled. It was not a warm smile. Our elite forces. Carter understood immediately. He had heard stories. Everyone in the military had heard stories. But very few had ever seen those teams in action. They operated in shadows. They did not appear in official reports. They were ghosts. Understood, sir, Carter said. Thevrix moved closer. Commander Carter, what are these elite forces? We have studied your military for 30 years. Your soldiers are already impressive. Your endurance, your aggression, your ability to function as units. What could be more elite than that? Carter looked at the alien counselor. He tried to find the right words. What you have seen, Carter said slowly, is our regular military. Good soldiers. Trained soldiers. Dangerous soldiers. He paused. But Earth has always known that some threats require something more than good soldiers. Something more? Gromak asked. Explain. Our elite forces are not just better trained. They are selected from the best of the best. Then they are trained again. And again. For years. They learn to do things that regular soldiers cannot do. They go places regular soldiers cannot go. They complete missions that regular soldiers cannot complete. Thevrix felt a strange sensation. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was fear. You are saying, Thevrix said carefully, that we have only seen a fraction of human military capability. Carter met his eyes. Yes, the war room was quiet again. But this time, the silence felt different. Thevrix looked at the display. 2,000 Vakari soldiers. Heavy weapons. Fortified positions. And somewhere out there, a small team of humans was coming. He almost felt sorry for the VRE carry. Almost. The U's Resolute moved through space like a silent predator. Inside its massive hull, 2,000 human soldiers prepared for war. They checked weapons. They studied maps. They talked quietly about what was coming. Commander Daniel Carter stood on the observation deck, watching the stars pass by. In 12 hours, they would reach Harmony Prime. In 12 hours, the real fighting would begin. Behind him, the door opened. He did not turn around. He already knew who was. The alien delegation wants to observe our preparations, said Lieutenant Amy Chun. She was his second in command, a small woman with quick eyes and a sharp mind. High Counselor Thevrix and War Chief Gromak. They say they want to understand human military methods. Carter nodded. Let them watch. They are about to see a lot more than they expected. An hour later, Carter stood in the main briefing room with Thevrix and Gromak beside him. On the screen, footage played from the border conflicts 5 years ago. Human soldiers fighting against the Draven Raiders. The footage was brutal. Humans advancing through enemy fire without stopping. Humans dragging wounded comrades to safety while still shooting. Humans fighting hand-to-hand when their weapons failed. Gromak watched with deep attention. Your soldiers do not retreat, he observed. Not easily, Carter agreed. We are trained to hold our ground. To protect the soldier next to us. To never leave anyone behind. Thevrix's mandibles clicked rapidly. It was a sign of nervousness. We have seen this footage many times. We have studied it. We believed we understood human military capability. He paused. But you said your elite forces are different. How different? Carter considered the question. Imagine a predator, he said. A dangerous predator. Fast, strong, deadly. You're regular soldiers, Gromak said. Yes. Now imagine a predator that you cannot see. You cannot hear it. You do not know it is there until it is already struck. And by the time you realize what happened, it is gone. Carter turned to face them. That is our elite forces. Duvrix felt that strange fear again. Such soldiers exist? They do. And they are coming for the hostages. The briefing room screen changed. New intelligence from the captured research outpost. The Vrikari had increased their defenses. More soldiers. More weapons. They had placed hostages in multiple locations throughout the base. Human shields against any attack. They know you will come, Duvrix said. They are prepared for anything. Carter almost smiled. They think they are prepared. They have never faced our elite forces. Far away, in a classified location, a small team was already moving. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Mitchell stood in the equipment room of a ship that did not officially exist. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and calm brown eyes. 20 years of special operations had taught him many things. How to kill quickly. How to move silently. How to stay alive when everything tried to kill him. But the most important lesson was simple. Preparation wins battles. Around him, his team prepared. Each of them was the best at what they did. Sergeant First Class Katie Moore checked her reconnaissance equipment. She could infiltrate any position. She had once spent 3 days hiding in an enemy base, mapping every patrol route, every security system, every weakness. No one had known she was there. Master Sergeant Derek Shaw inspected his explosives with careful hands. He could bring down a building or open a lock without leaving a mark. His hands were steady. They were always steady. Staff Sergeant Nicole Grant loaded her medical kit and her combat weapons. She was the team's medic, but she was also their close quarters specialist. She had never lost a teammate under her care. She did not plan to start now. Technical Sergeant Chris Taylor ran final tests on his communication equipment. He would be their ears and their voice. He would hack enemy systems and turn their own technology against them. Mitchell watched his team. 12 soldiers in total. 12 against 2,000. He had faced worse odds. Listen up, Mitchell said. His voice was quiet, but everyone stopped and looked at him. The mission is simple. 47 hostages. 12 children. We get them out. All of them. The base is heavily defended, Katie reported. She pulled up the blueprints on her tablet. 2,000 Vrikari. Heavy weapons on the perimeter. Shield generators protecting the main structures. The hostages are split between 2 locations. That makes extraction harder, Derek observed. It does, Mitchell agreed. So we work in 2 groups. Katie and I handle reconnaissance and pathfinding. Derek, you take out their power and heavy weapons. Nicole and Chris, you secure the hostages. Rules of engagement? Nicole asked. Mitchell's eyes hardened. They took children. They are using them as shields. His voice was ice. No mercy. No hesitation. Anyone who threatens a hostage dies. The team nodded. They understood. This was not just a mission. This was personal. We insert in 6 hours, Mitchell continued. Full dark. No communication with command until extraction. We go in silent, and we come out silent. The Vrikari will not know we are there until it is too late. Chris looked up from his equipment. And if they do detect us? Mitchell smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Then they will learn why the galaxy should fear more than just Earth's army. The team moved to their stations. Final preparations. Final checks. In 6 hours, they would become ghosts. They would move through shadows. They would strike without warning. And when they were done, 47 hostages would be free. The Vrikari thought they were prepared. They had no idea what was coming. On the Use Resolute, Commander Carter received a single encrypted message. Spectre team deployed. Radio silence begins now. He looked at the message for a long moment. Then he turned to Thevrix and Gromok, who waited nearby. "It has begun," Carter said. 12 soldiers, Thevrix said quietly. "Against 2,000. Against fortified positions. Against hostage shields." His mandibles clicked. "This is impossible." Carter shook his head. "For regular soldiers, yes. It would be impossible." He looked back at the stars. "But they are not regular soldiers. They are elite forces." He paused. "And for them, impossible is just another mission." The unmarked shuttle appeared on the Resolute sensors for exactly 3 seconds. Then it was gone, dropping toward the moon's surface like a falling shadow. Commander Carter watched from the observation deck. Beside him, Thevrix and Gromok stood in tense silence. They had requested to observe the operation. Carter had agreed. He wanted them to see this. 12 soldiers, Gromok said again. The massive Torvan warrior could not seem to accept it. "I have commanded armies. I have fought in dozens of battles. 12 soldiers against a fortified base is suicide." "Watch," Carter said simply. On the moon's surface, the shuttle touched down in a rocky valley 3 kilometers from the Vakari base. The landing was perfect, silent, no dust, no lights. The shuttle's hull was coated in materials that absorbed sensor signals. To the Vakari, it did not exist. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Mitchell was the first one out. He moved low and fast, his weapon ready. Behind him, his team followed. 12 shadows in the darkness. Katie Moore raised her hand. Everyone stopped. She pointed to a ridge 200 meters ahead. Mitchell looked through his scope. A Vakari patrol. 4 soldiers with scanning equipment. Mitchell made a quick hand signal. 2 of his operators moved forward. They were silent. Not quiet. Silent. Their boots made no sound. Their equipment made no sound. They were like wind across stone. The patrol never saw them. 4 Vakari soldiers dropped without a sound. The team moved on. "First contact neutralized," Chris Taylor whispered into his communicator. "No alarm." On the Resolute, the message appeared on Carter's screen. Thevrix read it and made a strange clicking sound. "How?" the alien asked. "The Vakari have motion sensors, heat sensors, sound detection systems. How did your team approach without detection?" Carter smiled slightly. "Our elite forces trained for years to defeat exactly those systems. They know how to control their heat signatures. They know how to move without making sound. They know where sensors cannot see." "That is not possible," Thevrix insisted. "And yet, it is happening." On the moon's surface, the team reached the outer perimeter of the Vakari base. High walls, guard towers, energy shields. It looked like a fortress. Katie Moore crawled forward alone. She moved so slowly that she seemed like part of the ground itself. An hour passed. Then 2. She mapped every camera, every patrol route, every sensor blind spot. Then she crawled back to the team. 6 entry points, she reported quietly. Tower guards rotate every 20 minutes. Shield generator is here. She marked a position on her tablet. Take that out, and we have a 3-minute window before backup power activates. Mitchell nodded. Derek, you take the generator. Katie, you and I clear the east approach. Nicole, Chris, you move to hostage position 1 as soon as the shields drop. What about position 2? Nicole asked. I will handle that personally after the primary extraction. The team split into groups. They moved through the darkness like ghosts. No words, no signals. They had trained together for so long that they could predict each other's movements. Derek Shaw reached the shield generator building. 2 guards outside. He waited. Patience was everything. The guards turned to speak to each other. Derek moved. 2 quick strikes. 2 bodies falling silently to the ground. He slipped inside. The generator room was full of humming machines and blinking lights. Derek studied the layout. He could blow the whole building, but that would alert everyone. Instead, he placed small charges at precise points. These charges would cut power without explosion, without sound. "Generator rigged," he whispered. "Ready on your command." Across the base, Katie and Mitchell had already penetrated the outer wall. They moved through shadows, avoiding patrols with impossible precision. A Vrekari soldier walked past Mitchell, close enough to touch. The soldier saw nothing. "We are in position," Mitchell reported. "All teams, confirm status." One by one, the team members confirmed. Everyone was in place. Mitchell looked at his watch. Exactly on schedule. Execute. Derek pressed his detonator. The shield generator died without a sound. Across the base, the energy shields flickered and vanished. The team moved as one. On the Resolute, Carter watched the sensor readings. The Vrekari base had gone dark for a moment. When power returned on backup, everything seemed normal. No alarms, no alerts. The enemy had no idea what was happening. "Your team has disabled their shields," Gromak observed. He leaned forward with sudden interest. "But the Vrekari have not noticed." "They will not notice," Carter said. "Not until it is too late." Inside the base, Nicole Grant and Chris Taylor reached hostage position 1. A large room with 31 civilians huddled together. 10 Vrekari guards watched them with weapons ready. Nicole studied the room through a small crack in the ventilation shaft. 10 guards. 31 hostages. She needed to eliminate the guards without harming the hostages. Without giving anyone time to shoot, she looked at Chris. He nodded. He had hacked into the room's lighting system. 3, 2, 1. The lights went out. Nicole dropped from the ceiling. In the darkness, she moved like water. Her hands found targets with perfect accuracy. 3 guards down. Chris followed her, taking 2 more. The remaining 5 guards tried to react, tried to fire their weapons. They were too slow. When the lights came back on, 10 Vrekari lay on the ground. Nicole stood in the center of the room, her weapons still raised. The hostages stared at her in shock. "United Earth Defense Forces," Nicole said calmly. "We are here to take you home." A woman stepped forward. Dr. Samantha Price, the chief scientist. Her face was dirty and tired, but her eyes were clear. "There are more hostages," she said quickly. 16 more, including children. Building 7, lower level. Nicole nodded. "We know. Our commander is handling it personally." Across the base, Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell reached Building 7, 16 hostages. 12 of them children, and 50 Vrekari soldiers standing between him and them. He checked his weapons. He checked his position. He made his decision. Then he moved. On the Resolute, the sensor readings went strange. Heat signatures flickered. Signals cut in and out. Carter watched with growing tension. Then a single message appeared on his screen. Phase 1 complete. Proceeding to primary objective. The Vriks stared at the message. Phase 1? They disabled the shields and secured hostages in minutes. Without detection. Without alarms. His mandibles trembled. What of these humans? Carter did not answer. He just watched the screen and waited for the next message. The impossible was becoming real. Building 7 was the most heavily guarded structure in the Vrekari base. Commander Sek Thorne had placed his best soldiers there. He knew the humans would come for their children. He was counting on it. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Mitchell moved through the shadows of the corridor. He had already neutralized 8 guards without making a sound. His knife was faster than their reflexes. His hands were faster than their thoughts. They died before they knew he was there. He reached the door to the lower level. Beyond it, 50 soldiers guarded 16 hostages, 12 children and 4 adults. The children ranged from 4 years old to 12. Mitchell had seen their files. He knew their names, their faces, their parents who waited in fear. He would bring them home. All of them. Mitchell touched his communicator. Spectre to all teams. Status. Position 1 secured, Nicole reported. 31 hostages safe. Moving to extraction point. Generator building cleared, Derek confirmed. No alarms. Enemy communications are still down. Perimeter patrol eliminated, Katie added. Outer approach is clear for extraction. Mitchell nodded to himself. Everything was on schedule. Now came the hard part. He studied the door. Reinforced metal. Electronic lock. On the other side, 50 soldiers in a defensive formation. They were waiting for an assault. They expected a frontal attack. They would not get one. Mitchell pulled a small device from his belt. He placed it against the wall next to the door. Not on the door. The wall. He stepped back and pressed the trigger. The wall exploded inward. Dust and debris filled the room. The Valkyrie soldiers spun toward the breach. Their weapons raised, but Mitchell did not come through the wall. He came through the door, while all eyes looked at the explosion. He slipped through the main entrance behind them. His weapon fired in controlled bursts. 3 soldiers down. 4. 5. He moved through them like a storm, never stopping, never slowing. The Valkyrie tried to react. Some turned to face him. Some fired wildly at the breach. Confusion spread through their ranks. Mitchell used that confusion like a weapon. 20 soldiers, down in 30 seconds. The remaining 30 finally organized themselves. They formed a line between Mitchell and the hostages. Their leader, a large Valkyrie with decorated armor, pointed his weapon directly at the children. Stop. The Valkyrie commander shouted. One more step and they die. Mitchell stopped. He lowered his weapon slightly. His eyes moved across the room, counting soldiers, measuring distances, calculating angles. You are one human, the commander said. You cannot defeat all of us. Surrender now, and we will let you live. Mitchell looked at the children. They huddled together, their eyes wide with fear. One small girl, no older than 5, was crying silently. A boy of about 10 stood in front of the younger ones, trying to protect them with his small body. Mitchell thought about his own childhood, about the people who had protected him when he was small and afraid, about the promise he made to himself long ago that he would always protect those who could not protect themselves. You took children, Mitchell said. His voice was calm, cold. You used them as shields. You threatened to kill them. The Valkyrie commander laughed. Human sentimentality. Your weakness for your young is well known. It is why we took them. Mitchell smiled. It was not a friendly smile. You made a mistake, he said. You thought our love for children was a weakness. He raised his weapon. It is not a weakness. It is the reason we will destroy you. He moved. What happened next would become legend among the Valkyrie survivors. The human moved faster than any living thing they had ever seen. His weapon fired with perfect accuracy. His body twisted through spaces that seemed too small. He was everywhere and nowhere at once. Soldiers fell, one after another. Those who tried to aim at the hostages never completed the motion. Mitchell was there first, his knife finding throats, his hands breaking bones. The Valkyrie commander raised his weapon toward the crying girl. He never fired. Mitchell's knife flew across the room and buried itself in the commander's chest. The alien fell. His weapon clattered to the ground. Silence. Mitchell stood in the center of the room, surrounded by fallen enemies. Not one of the hostages had been harmed. Not one. The boy who had tried to protect the younger children looked up at Mitchell with wide eyes. "Are you a guardian angel?" he asked. Mitchell knelt down so he was at eye level with the boy. "No," he said gently. "I am just a soldier, and I am here to take you home." He touched his communicator. "Spectre to all teams. Building 7 secure. 16 hostages safe. Beginning extraction." The team moved into action. Derek and Katie met Mitchell at Building 7. They formed a protective circle around the children, carrying the smaller ones who could not run fast enough. Nicole and Chris led the first group of hostages toward the extraction point. They moved through the base like ghosts. By now, some Vakari soldiers had discovered the bodies of their comrades. Alarms began to sound, but it was too late. The team reached the extraction zone. The unmarked shuttle descended from the sky, its lights off, its engines nearly silent. The hostages climbed aboard. 47 people, 12 children. All safe. Nicole helped the last hostage onto the shuttle. It was the small girl who had been crying. The girl looked up at Nicole with red eyes. "Thank you," the girl whispered. Nicole squeezed her hand gently. "You are safe now. We will take you to your family." Mitchell did a final count. All hostages aboard. All team members aboard. Mission complete. "Go," he told the pilot. The shuttle rose into the sky and vanished into the darkness of space below. Vakari reinforcements finally arrived at the base. They found chaos. Over 300 soldiers dead or unconscious. The hostages gone. The enemy vanished without a trace. Commander Sec Thorn, wounded but alive, crawled out of Building 7. He looked at the destruction around him. 12 humans had done this. 12. He had heard stories about human soldiers, about their endurance and their ferocity. He had prepared his base for a human assault, but he had not prepared for this. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were something else. Something that moved through shadows. Something that struck without warning. Something that could not be stopped. The Vakari Dominion had made a terrible mistake. They had taken human children. They had thought it would make humans weak. Instead, it had awakened something far more dangerous than any army it had awakened. Earth's elite forces. And now the Dominion would learn the price of that mistake. On the shuttle, Mitchell sat quietly as the hostages celebrated around him. Parents held their children. Scientists thanked the soldiers who had saved them. Tears of joy flowed freely. Nicole sat down next to Mitchell. Clean extraction. 0 casualties among the hostages. 0 casualties on our team. Mitchell nodded. That is how it should be. Nicole looked at him. The Vakari will remember this. The whole galaxy will hear about this. Good, Mitchell said. Let them hear. Let them remember. He looked out the window at the stars. Let them know what happens when they threaten our people. 3 days after the rescue, Harmony Prime was buzzing with activity. News of the operation had spread across the galaxy. Every species in the Concord was talking about what had happened. 12 human soldiers, 2,000 Vakari, 0 hostage casualties. The numbers did not seem real. High Counselor Theverick stood in the Concord Council chambers, reviewing the data for the 100th time. His analysts had studied every piece of information they could find. Sensor logs, survivor testimonies, physical evidence from the Vakari. Based on the picture that emerged was terrifying. The human team had infiltrated a heavily defended base without detection. They had disabled critical systems without triggering alarms. They had eliminated over 300 enemy soldiers, including 50 in a single engagement. And they had extracted 47 hostages, including 12 children, without a single injury. The entire operation had taken 4 hours. This changes everything, Theverick said quietly. War Chief Gromok stood beside him. The massive Torvan warrior had not spoken much since watching the operation unfold. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never felt before: humility. "I have fought in many wars," Gromak said finally. "I have seen many warriors. I have faced many enemies." He paused. "I have never seen anything like this." The chamber doors opened. Ambassador Lavra Bennett entered, followed by Commander Daniel Carter. Behind them walked Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Mitchell and his team. The alien leaders turned to look at the humans. Mitchell walked with quiet confidence. His team moved behind him like shadows, their eyes constantly scanning the room. Even here, in a place of peace, they were alert, ready. Davrik stepped forward. He performed the traditional Cathari gesture of deep respect, a gesture he had not used in over 50 years. "On behalf of the Concord," Davrik said, "I thank you. You saved 47 lives. You struck a blow against our enemies. You gave us hope." Mitchell nodded simply. "We did our job." "Your job," Gromak repeated. He walked closer to Mitchell, looking down at the human who was much smaller than him. "Tell me something, human. How did you do it? How did 12 of you defeat 2,000? Mitchell considered the question. "Training," he said. "Years of training. Every member of my team has spent thousands of hours preparing for missions like this. We know how to move, how to fight, how to work together. We know our strengths and our weaknesses. We know each other better than we know ourselves." "That is not enough," Gromak pressed. "Training cannot explain what we saw. You moved like spirits. You struck like lightning. You vanished like mist." Nicole Grant stepped forward. She was the smallest member of the team, but she spoke with quiet authority. "We are not special because we are stronger or faster than other humans. We are special because we refuse to fail. When we accept a mission, we will complete it, no matter the cost, no matter the odds, even against impossible odds?" Thevrix asked. "There are no impossible odds," Mitchell said. "Only difficult ones." The room was silent. The alien leaders looked at each other. They had thought they understood humans. They had studied human soldiers for 30 years. They had seen human strength, human endurance, human determination, but they had only seen part of the picture. Ambassador Bennett stepped forward. "Counselor Thevrix, War Chief Gromak, Earth maintains multiple levels of military capability. Our standard forces handle conventional conflicts. They are the soldiers you have seen before. They are dangerous, yes. Effective, yes. But they are only the beginning." She gestured to Mitchell's team. "Our elite forces represent something beyond standard military doctrine. They are selected from the best soldiers we have. Then they are trained to exceed the limits of what we thought possible. They handle the missions that no one else can handle. Missions like hostage rescue," Carter added, "or high-value target elimination, or sabotage behind enemy lines. They go where regular soldiers cannot go. They do what regular soldiers cannot do." Thevrix's mandibles clicked nervously. "How many of these elite forces does Earth have?" Ambassador Bennett smiled. "That information is classified." The message was clear. Earth had more, many more. And if the galaxy had seen what 12 of them could do, what could 100 do? 1,000? The doors opened again. A Vrekari diplomat entered the chamber. He was small for his species, and his movements were nervous. He carried a white flag of parley. "I bring a message from the Vrekari Dominion," the diplomat announced. His voice shook slightly. "The Dominion wishes to negotiate a ceasefire. We will withdraw from all Concord territories. We will pay reparations for the worlds we attacked. We ask only for peace." Gromak made a rumbling sound of surprise. "The Dominion surrenders? After one battle?" The diplomat looked at Mitchell and his team. His eyes were wide with barely hidden fear. It was not one battle, War Chief. It was a message. He swallowed hard. The Dominion has learned that there are some enemies you do not want to fight. Some enemies you cannot defeat. Some enemies who will find you no matter where you hide, no matter how many soldiers you have. He paused. We have learned not to threaten human children. The negotiations took several hours. The Vrikari agreed to every demand. They withdrew their forces. They paid reparations. They signed treaties promising peace. Through it all, Mitchell and his team stood quietly at the edge of the chamber. They did not speak. They did not celebrate. They simply waited. When it was over, Mitchell led his team toward the exit. Carter followed them. "Lieutenant Colonel," Carter said, "thank you for what you did, for those people you saved." Mitchell stopped. He turned to face Carter. "We did what we were trained to do. Nothing more." "It was more," Carter insisted. "You gave the galaxy something. You showed them what humans are capable of. You showed them why they should never threaten us." Mitchell shook his head. "No, Commander. We showed them why they should never threaten our people. There is a difference." He looked back at his team. Nicole, Derek, Katie, Chris, and all the others. They had trained together for years. They had fought together, bled together. They were more than soldiers. They were family. "We do not fight because we want power," Mitchell said. "We do not fight because we want glory. We fight because there are people who need protection, children who need to be safe, families who need to go home. That is why we train. That is why we risk everything. That is why we never stop." He paused. "That is what it means to be Earth's elite forces." The unmarked shuttle was waiting for them on the landing pad. Mitchell's team boarded in silence. They were returning to wherever elite forces waited between missions. Their work here was done. Carter watched them go. Around him, the station buzzed with activity. News of the Vrikari surrender spread across the galaxy. Celebrations began on a dozen worlds. The threat was over, but Carter knew the truth. The threat was over because of 12 soldiers. 12 ordinary humans who had trained themselves to do extraordinary things. 12 people who had walked into impossible odds and emerged victorious. The galaxy had feared Earth's army. Now they understood that the army was only the beginning. Beyond the army were the shadows. The ghosts. The elite forces who struck without warning and vanished without trace. They were few in number, but they were enough. Because when you threatened Earth's people, you did not face an army. You faced something far worse than that. Carter thought as the shuttle disappeared into the stars. Was exactly how it should be. On the shuttle, Nicole Grant looked at the drawing in her hand. The small girl she had rescued had given it to her before the families returned to Earth. It showed a small figure in dark clothing, standing in front of a group of children. Above the figure, in a child's handwriting, were 2 words. "Guardian Angel." Nicole smiled and carefully put the drawing in her pocket. She would keep it forever. This was why they fought. This was why they would always fight. For the children. For the families. For everyone who needed someone to stand between them and the darkness. The elite forces of Earth. Silent, precise, unstoppable, and forever ready to answer the call.